This is A View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today's Tuesday, the 15th of November, 2022. A day that for me can't end quick enough. And my name is Patrick Smith. Listen, if you've ever had your car break down while work is being done in your house and everything's going on at once, I have sympathy with you today, of all days. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. You can also download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, load more of your normal podcast providers. On this week's show, it was a weekend of battles for the Giants, victorious in Nottingham, but just short in Nottingham. We'll get to the game shortly. D-Man Matt Foley got an apple on Saturday. He'll join us for the fan agenda, answering your questions. And we'll have news and dops from around the league. And a quick look ahead to another big weekend for the Belfast Giants on the road this week, a doubleheader in Sheffield against the Steelers. Davey, how are you doing, mate?
Not too bad, Patrick. Sorry for your trouble there with your car and your kitchen and all sorts going on in the world, but hopefully a bit more normality tomorrow for you.
One of those days, mate. I'm just glad I'm here to be able to talk hockey with you boys and sort of get away from all the nonsense. I don't have a kitchen yet. It's still a shell. It's still built, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Who knows? Maybe in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be able to talk to you with a big smile on my face because we finally got a kitchen.
You can't hide money, Joel. Sure you can't. You just can't hide it.
True story, mate. Wouldn't know.
Mate. Anyway, wouldn't know. Tell you what, Joel, that was some pod that you were staying in up in Donegal. The photographs are being thrown out left, right, and centre for anybody on Facebook
time.
or Instagram. There he was, a little pod up in the rugged northwest.
Headed for the wilderness for the weekend, mate. Just needed to get away from phone signal and just busyness for a couple of days. It did the soul good, actually. It's a long time since I've been to Donegal. It was one of those places that you went, you were told by your parents you were going on holidays, and then you went to Donegal and sat in a cottage and got rained on for a week. But see, through the eyes of an adult, quite a nice place, pretty spectacular. But yeah, it was nice.
Every other weekend for about 15 years, mate.
Really?
Dad have a little place up there, so we used to just disappear up.
Amazing. Yes, highly recommend.
And I will say, and we'll get to the hockey. I will say, it's one of those things when you're like 15, 16, 17 years old and your mum and dad are dragging you up to the little cottage in Donegal, you think it's the worst thing in the world because you just want to play Mega Drive. You know what I mean? It's for people who didn't know, Mega Drive predates the PS4, 3, 2, 1.
And me.
The Dreamcast. Like that. But yeah.
You didn't have a Mega Drive, Joel? Hang on, hold the phone.
No, I was a SNES kid, mate. I was weird.
Okay. I'm just thinking, like, Paddy, like my Mega Drive was probably like at the most about the size of an A4 piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like you could have took it to Donegal. It did have a.
There was no TV.
Trying to plug it into
it was the 90s, mate. It was the 90s. You could afford one TV, and that stayed in Belfast.
Yeah, true story. I still have my SNES with the first ever version of FIFA. So whenever you're over for the Friendship 4 boys, I know that you all go to the pub and whatever else. If you want to come over and play a few games, like, I mean,
oh no, Joel, bring it to the arena, and we'll put it on the massive screen. We'll play FIFA on the huge screen in the corner. There's your period breaks.
It's really good to identify with the kids right from the top of the show this week, isn't it? It's brilliant. We sound really cool.
At this moment in time, James Glover's writing notes saying period break NHL on the corner.
Wouldn't be the first time either.
Alan Brett told him memories of his Amiga 500.
Nah, you see, that's the words of an old man. Sorry, Alan, mate. I don't. That's before my time.
You're listening to A View from the Games Master.
I'm old.
Huh?
Is that when you had to put cassette tapes in?
I had a CPC 464 on Amstrad. You had to put cassettes in it.
Commodore. I had an Amstrad PC 1512 because I was a nerd. You know, that's it. Give money on sugar. Right, let's get back to the hockey, boys. Belfast Giants were on the road. Start of a very long road swing that normally happens in November, and we were up against on Friday night the Manchester Storm down at the Drizzle Dome. The Manchester Storm actually started a brand new netminder who was announced the day after Matt Ginn was on this very show. He could have announced it on this very show, but he did not. He waited the next morning, and they signed the son of Martin Brodeur, Jeremy Brodeur. Fortunately for him, it was one shot, one goal as he was introduced to the Elite League in spectacular fashion. The Belfast Giants walked out of Altrincham as 5-2 victors. Orval and Johnson for the goals to the Manchester Storm, whereas Kieran Long in 32 seconds scored to open it. Mark Cooper, Colby McCauley, Scott Conway on the power play, and Steve Urry keeping that streak alive on the power play Also, with regards to nets, Jackson Whistle was in goals for your Belfast Giants, 29 shots against, 2 goals against. And that man we just mentioned, Jeremy Brodeur, 52 shots against, 5 goals against. The referees were the Souls, Liam and Joe. Davey, 1 shot, 1 goal. Brodeur was brought in as cover to Levine, and a great start for the Giants. To give him credit, though, he didn't have a bad game.
I thought both Brodeur and Whistle were the standout players probably on the ice on the night. I think through the first period, certainly the scoreline was what it was because of Jackson Whistle, and it could have been even more lopsided at the other end if not for Brodeur. Of course, the first goal, one shot, 1 goal can a goalie can fall down with that very quick. But we talk about players being out, Kevin Rain still out, Kieran Long still operating on the back end on D, and he comes in off the blue line with great speed, comes across, shooting right to left across Brodeur. Well, left to right is Brodeur looking at it in the far post, and the Giants get off to a really nice start. That second goal, then I think you're going to roll the goals. The second goal with I think it's Coops coming down the left wing, and the one-timer again making Brodeur go right to left, and he's not able to. There's the goal from Longer, and I think that all night long we attacked their D-line with such pace. We talked about that rink being small, everything happening quicker, and I think it really suited our game. Well, we played a style that suited that rink the other night. We came with pace, constantly hitting that blue line from red to blue line with pace and going in, and then as a D-man, you're having to turn, and D-men do not like turning and facing their own goals, and the Belfast Giants were able to do that time and time again. And I'm just looking at my notes here, and through that second period, 22 shots to 6 in the second period, it could have got away from the Storm, but they hung in there, and the Giants get a bit of a messy third one, and then they get one back, and just a lovely drop pass from Ori for that fourth one. And then when you go into that last period, a little bit of a mistake from West gives them a little bit of life, but the Giants go up the other end. It's Ori with his 5th goal in 2 games. Obviously, got the goals against Cardiff last week, and 2 goals in the power play. Really, really nice for us. And really, really strong performance for me. And you've got Soisy taking a sore one late on, high up, shot to the face. But the boys dug in, and you can tell that was an energy draining performance. We had to go flat to the mat for the full 60 minutes to take that win, and it didn't come easy despite the lopsided scoreline, but a well-deserved win that could have probably been a slightly wider margin of victory had it not been from such a good game from Brodeur.
I think the Giants were good for their win. Like the only real lapse that I saw was their first goal, Manchester's first goal. I think our defensive position was a bit off. Colby McCauley was sitting off, leaving a man near the net. But I think what Davey saying's bang on. Like, we have horror stories from that dreaded first trip to Manchester on that claustrophobic ice pad. But Paddy, I mean, you were there. It looked like the Giants dealt well with moving the puck in those kind of in those claustrophobic spaces, and not only that, but actually pressing quite well. You think they were good for their win?
Absolutely. I think one of the real things that Manchester do well is disrupt, especially on their home ice. The fact is there is so little space that when Belfast were going into the ozone, Manchester were really good at sort of crowding them out and not giving them any sort of lanes to shoot in, and that seemed to happen after. You see, when that first goal comes from Longer, it's a case of he's in open space with a clean view of Brodeur's goal, and he strikes it so well, it just goes flying past Brodeur, who's in cold. And I think there was a conversation between myself and who was it? I think it might have been John O'Bullard, or there was definitely somebody at the rink where we were shocked that Brodeur actually started this game. I don't think whether Levine was injured or whether they were just giving him a bit of a break, but it was the question was, why is Brodeur coming into this game now? He was only signed midweek. Is he ready for it? And that first goal was sort of, like you say, Davey would break anybody, but I thought, he came into the game well and actually stopped it from being a bit of a cricket score, the way the Giants were playing and the way the Giants were fighting the net. But the overall, Manchester came back into it, and time and time again in that rink, I've seen us get commanding leads, and we were getting commanding leads, but time and time again, I've seen us being pegged back. And I think I think Adam Keefe's, obviously, he's got great experience there in that rink now, and it's probably, as the lads well warned, we were 5-1 up last season, and it went to overtime. We need to close the games out there on that short ice, and that is exactly what we were doing. I thought, Jackson Whistle was excellent for us, and anytime we did find that space, we were able to use it. But credit to Manchester, I thought they did really well. Joel, coming back to you, like I said, the amount of times we've given up commanding leads in that ice, it is just good to see us close it out.
Yeah, I think the sort of the manner in which we scored in the first period set the tone. Those kinds of goals on the road, catching Brodeur cold after 30 seconds with a great finish from Kieran Long. I think Cooper's finish for 2-0 right at the death in the first period was really lovely. He I don't know if you saw the replay, but he makes the water bottle levitate. I've seen the water bottle get popped a lot, but the bottle just kind of lifts a foot off the air, suspends there for about 20 seconds and come back down again. Great positioning and well done under pressure for Coop. But going in after the first period with that 2-0 lead will settle the nerves a little bit. But I come back to what I say. I think the difference between this and other seasons, whenever we've come away with nothing from that first trip there, was just our willingness to play for the dirty goal, our willingness to press high in the zone and get in Brodeur's face and be around the crease whenever there were opportunities. I think that the 3-0 goal actually in the second period, Colby McCauley's goal, is the perfect example of that. Mad scramble, Brodeur's trying to get a hand on it, and really at that point in the game, the dirty goal is what you need. But no, listen, brilliant start to the weekend. Didn't end so well, but that's a nice win to get on the road in a difficult building.
I did feel for Shoisey when he took that that puck to the face. I thought, and it seemed to be pretty nasty. A lot of blood coming from it, and hopefully not too much damage. We'll come to the game on Saturday in just a second. I know that he was on the sheet, but I don't think we saw him very much. But ultimately, you have to put the effort in Manchester, and we did that. And for a change, despite one of the big negatives being an incredibly long queue at the bar, which has got absolutely ridiculous. And that's the first time in what. And honestly, the queue stretched all the way to the bar and halfway up the concourse, just whatever you call a concourse, if that's what you call it in Manchester. But something needs to be done there.
Sorry for your trouble, mate. Sorry to hear that.
Sorry, David, what were you going to say?
Just be nice. We can't all have 20 concessions and
being nice, but what I'm saying is,
fell from the bottom and all.
What I'm saying is, I've never been in Manchester where I've seen it so bad. Though I will give him credit, that's the largest crowd I've seen for a Belfast Giants game in a long time. No doubt, the big team are in town. That Friday night, maybe on the back of the fireworks that took place against the Sheffield Steelers the week before, but that is definitely the largest crowd I've seen for a Belfast Giants game in Manchester for a long, long time. So credit to the lads there getting the people through the door. The highlights from that game are available, of course, through our good friends at Manchester Storm TV, commentated on by our good friend Jono Bullard, who also commentated on the next game. The Belfast Giants travelled just over the Pennines down the road. It's about 3 hours to drive from here to Nottingham to take on the Nottingham Panthers in the NIC for the first time this season. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way we wanted it. I did say to John Bullard after the game Manchester we were talking about, I said I hate going into the NIC because he was nervous about the Giants going in. I said I hate going into the NIC, and so it proved a 5-4 win for the Nottingham Panthers. Brady, Levine, Ferrara, Kelso, and Welishika? Brett Welishika.
Just keep trying. Throw another few drafts out.
I'm gonna contact John and find out. But for the Giants, Scott Conway, Kieran Long with his second in as many days, David Goodwin and Colby McCauley with regards to goalkeepers. Not a great start for Peyton Jones. Lasted 20 minutes, 9 shots against, 3 goals against. He was replaced by Jackson Whistle, who played 38 minutes, 21 shots against, 2 goals against. And the other side, Jack Berry, 41 shots against, 4 goals against. Tom Perring and Andrew Miller were the 2 referees for that game. Joel, the terrible opening period. The Giants just weren't at the races.
Yeah, and that Nottingham crowd was up for it too. That was very, very loud. You could tell that the one of those nights when the ice tilts away very quickly. And David, you'll hate me for saying it, but to their credit, the Panthers' opening couple of goals, actually, to be fair, their first 3 goals were very good goals. You know, their Brady's finish for the first was very nice. Levin absolutely rips one on the power play for 2-0. And then Luke Ferrara, I think, gets his first goal in a Panthers uniform on the backhand for that 3-0. Now, I think critically here, we respond. Scott Conway responds straight away after that 3-0 goal. They're still getting the sort of goal announcement out whenever Collins rips that response. And it's those goals at pivotal moments that win you games on the road. It was the same as Manchester, getting that early goal, getting that goal at the end of the first. And we had a terrible first period. We grew somewhat into the game in the second period, but we had a puck off the bar. We had Barry denying Colby McCauley with what was a really, really nice stick save in the second period as well. So this is a game of fine margins. You know, the Giants, all they need to do is be within a goal or two heading into the third period, and there's always a way back. I saw a lot of sort of grumbling on Twitter about our performance and about it being toothless and about nobody really looking like they wanted to be there. But never count this team out going into that last 20 minutes. How many times have we had these stressful Sundays where, you know, you see us kind of mount these comebacks? That on any other night could have been a Giants win. If you look at that phenomenal save from Barry on McCauley, and also the fact that we hit the bar, Steve Orey hit the bar in the first period. So like one of those nights, you can't win them all, especially on the road. But I definitely am not with the doomsayers about this game.
I think, Davey, after the first period, I was fuming, to be honest with you. I didn't think that we were at the races. I didn't think we were in this game. Had I been there, I'd probably be even more angry. But as the game progressed, and especially coming into that third, that sort of anger subsided into actual bit of pride.
I think for another 5 minutes in the game, I think it was Dan Green maybe mentioned if the Giants had 1 or 2 more bodies in the bench in another 5 minutes, the game could have been very different because, boys, that ice was tilted in that third period. You know, we came roaring back into that game, and but for some, you know, wasteful finishing, some bars and pipes, and some good goaltending, things could have been a whole lot different. You know, I think we give them. When I say we give them, they got into a lead, and when you give decent teams a lead, not saying that.
I think we did give them the lead, mate. I think that's the right thing to say.
I think the first one we get caught with the old. I think it's Coops maybe gets caught from behind. We don't quite get it deep, and there's a line change, and then you're chasing. The guys are all coming onto the ice from the line change. Everybody just naturally levitates, get to the puck as quick as you can, and everybody stacks that right wing, and the Panthers player coming off the bench comes on down the left wing and has it's more or less an open net on Peyton Jones to shoot into. Second one, power play, okay, penalty kill. We're letting a little bit tired, and it goes right to left, and again, blocker side on Peyton. It's 2-0. There's somebody, I can't think who it is, just off the top of my head, goes down on the right knee to block the shot, and maybe that just takes his eyes off it a wee bit, and it's 2-0. And then actually Peyton Jones comes up with an absolutely key one-on-none breakaway save. It could have been 3-0, and then you're out of the game completely. So he keeps it in at 2-1, and then, you know, Collins obviously coming back with that really quick reply to make it 3-1. I'm just reading my notes then. And then when West comes in, it's 4-1. That first shot on West from the top of the slot as well.
It's unlucky.
There's 7 bodies in between him and the puck. So, you know, there's mitigations for everything. 4-2. Come back into the game with another one longer, getting in the crease in the power play to make it 4-2. And all of a sudden then that fifth for them was the killer. We left ourselves too much to do at that stage, and yes, we came roaring back in. You know, let's go down. And Kevin Rain wasn't there. Butcher was out. Soisy didn't play. Coops went out hurt. You've Will Cullen playing right wing, and by the way, Cully could have made it 5 each right at the death. Did really well.
I thought he did very well.
Bomber missing as well.
Kel Beatty playing on D with Mark Garside. You know, Sam Rupp. I think Sam. I'll look it up here, but Sam played over half. Or there was 3 or 4 guys playing half an hour. You know, they played half the game. They were playing every other shift in this game. Must be exhausted. Hopefully, got Monday, Tuesday, maybe even tomorrow off as well. There'll be some tired bodies there, and no excuse organization. We always say that, but you mitigate. We were down bodies here against a full strength team in their own barn, and we came within a whisker of taking something out of the game. that goal at 5-3, brought us roaring back into it. I think Matt Foley comes in with a shot. It might have been going to be tip, or we redirect off Goody in front to make it 5-3. And we roared at them for the last 10 minutes of games. Say the ice was tilted. We could have got something out of that game. Unfortunately for us, we probably left ourselves just a little bit too much to do in the game from that first period. All probably stems from the first, to be honest. And that's not being critical. You've talked about Peyton coming out of nets and Jackson coming in. You don't levy everything in your goaltender every time. So, as a team, we didn't do enough in the first period to win that game. The game last 60 minutes, and unfortunately, coming off a real good 60-minute performance the night before, we just couldn't really put 3 strong periods together. But, I think we take an awful lot out of that third period and going forward, especially so short-bodied, and just hope the boys can rest up this week and get a few of those boys that aren't just 100% fit, get them, more towards 100, and I think we'll be all right. Nottingham Panthers wouldn't worry me. And we'll go on probably to talk about the Challenge Cup, and we've drawn them over 2 legs. They're to scud it there to probably have to eat humble pie in months to come or whatever, but it wouldn't be a fixture that I'd be overly worried about.
I think, looking at the game, especially looking at that third period, and I my wife will attest that I nearly did something very stupid, which is my head in my hands at the end of the second period, and I was just like, I don't think I could watch this third, the way the things are going here at the minute. And she says, "Wise up, will you stick it on? Keep it on there." So I kept it on, and as the third period went on, I started to get more and more. I was like, "Go on!" Screaming at the TV, and more and more belief, because, like you said, I thought as a third period, considering how many bodies we were down in that third period. Coming away from it, Joel, just to start to wrap things up, we're coming away from it. I don't think that Omar Pasha and Guy Graham, despite the scoreline, despite the 2 points, will be at all pleased with what happened in that third period.
No, it wasn't the play of a championship team to let us on a night whenever we've had such a terrible start. Whenever the Panthers, to be fair to them, have been offensively very good in that first period. I think they took their goals well. They had a game kind of on their stick there. At the half-hour mark, they're leading 5-2. That's a game at home on a Sunday with a big crowd roaring you on that you probably should be, tying up comfortably. They still did. They still got the 2 points. But I would be looking for a bit more domination if I was those boys. I'm sure they're not going to sniff at having 2 points on the board against the champs. But listen, I'd be looking for more personally, if that's any consolation.
We've got Matt Foley waiting in the wings here. But before we come to him, just a quick, because obviously we're quite a bit into the just take that out. We're quite a bit into the season at the minute. I'm just have a quick look at the way that the table is standing after those games. Guildford Flames top 16 played 27, Steelers 14 played 23, Blaze 15 played 21, Cardiff 16 played 21 points, Belfast Giants 13 played 20 points, Nottingham Panthers 13 played 12 points, 16 played for the Flyers 12 points, Dundee 16 played 10 points, Manchester 13 played 9, and the Glasgow Clan, obviously with their problems still, 16 played 5 points. And one of the points I made on a conversation I had with Omar Pasha is that Nottingham needed to be very careful, and I know they went on to lose to Fife, but they need to be very careful in that sort of 5 to 6. Dave, there's a little bit of a gap starting to already appear there.
I have to be honest with you, Paddy, even as someone that does the stats for the club, this is the first time I've looked at the league table this season. That's the first time I've seen it.
I tend not to until there's at least 10 games in. We're obviously over 10 games, but yeah, I understand.
This is a funny old league. You can just take care of your business. And I suppose when you look down the percentage points, 77 percentage points after 13 games is a good return for a vast majority of a team that's coming off a difficult CHL tournament. Coming through adversity with injuries and stuff. So, we're only building. This is only 8, 9, 10 weeks into a lot of new guys in this team. And to be sitting where we are, yeah, we're fifth in the table, games in hand, points out who wants them, games in hand, points in the bag, that old chestnut. But, if you look over the right-hand column, say you've 77% of the points on the board, take that all day long for where we are. And, this road trip, we talked about it last week, the next few weeks are all going to be pivotal, but 2 points in September is important as 2 points in February as the league table is. So I'm not too worried about that league table at the minute. I wouldn't be worried that 7 points off the top sounds like, oh no, we're miles behind. But actually, in terms of what you're saying, but there is now a chunk of change between us and the Panthers, which is always good to see. And week by week, shift by shift, boys, and it's still very early days.
Joel, you see, obviously Guildford have played more games than anybody else alongside the Cardiff Devils. But they've 3 losses like ourselves, but in overtime that sort of pushes them on that percentage point a little bit higher. But ultimately, the Giants will be looking to sort of creep up that table with the wins.
Yeah. The only thing that I look at typically, to be honest, in any sport, whether it's my football or hockey, the table for me is a broad indicator of pace. See, this side of Christmas, all I'm looking for is us to be broadly on pace. You look at the fact that I would like to think we'll take care of the games in hand once we get up to 16 games. That would theoretically put us a point off the Guildford Flames. That's no issue at all. This side of Christmas, all you need to see is that you're on pace to be a front runner. Also, have to hand it to the Guildford Flames because people thought that would be a flash in the opening couple of weeks, and it's still early, but they are still putting wins on the board, scoring a lot of goals, and denying a lot of people right now. I think Championship medal shows itself in the new year whenever the Elite League schedule gets a bit wild and you got to go long with injuries mounting up, and it's a relentless year. But you have to hand it to them because I've had some conversations this year where the Elite League can be a little bit predictable. It sort of shakes out similar every year. And it's nice to actually see someone else actually making a proper challenge of it. And I mean that, I still hope we trail them up and down both the Spectrum and the SSE, but it's quite nice to see teams like the Coventry Blaze, teams that, are generally mid-table teams, the Nottingham Panthers, the Cardiff Devils. It's nice to see them winning here and there as well.
I think in the back of that, Paddy, Joel's right. I've said it for years and years. 1st of January is important to have a wee look at the table. Flick your eye over it on the 1st of January and see where you are. If you've had a good Christmas period, you're in the hunt. You're at the top end of the table. It was Jordan Boucher said last year about the dog days in February. It starts to get to the grind. Then if you can get pushed through that grind and you come out towards the end of February and you're a contender, and then you see what your championship medal is, how good your goaltending is, how good your defense is, team defense. And then you've got premium level forwards in this team that can go and win games. You've got quality defense that can shut teams out, and you've got quality forward then go on and win. And that'll push us on towards you. We're going to be contenders. I don't think that anybody would argue with that throughout the league fan base. So
we always are.
What's that? Yeah,
we always are.
We're perennial, contenders. We have been for over 20 years, and that's not going to change when you've got a coach and a setup like we've got. But as of November the 15th, terrible day for Northern Ireland, but November the 15th, but we're right in the hunt.
The highlights from that game are from Panthers TV with John Bullard. Tell you, the man's getting all the jobs. He's getting all the jobs. Good man. Right.
Had to mute him, to be honest, whenever Barry came up with that
he was enjoying it. You were enjoying those goals, John. You were.
You and me were
enjoying that save. I didn't even think it was a great save.
You and me were on the WhatsApp with. He's got the paddle down well, but like physics dictates, you cannot raise a backhand shot with your stick fully extended, one-handed. I'd like to see the guy that does it. Pretty. Austin Matthews, maybe take him aside.
Connor McDavid.
Simon Kitchen can probably do it too, but apart from Shiz,
most likely,
not too many in the world in the game, but decent save, not world class.
Right, let's move on, gentlemen, to the fan agenda, brought to you by our good friends at Belfast Giants TV. We're delighted to be joined with one of the newer faces in the Belfast Giants, the D-man, and with the NCAA Friendship 4 coming up next week, a man who went to Yale. Let's have a chat to Matt Foley. How are you doing, Matt?
How's it going, guys?
Yeah, but a good Red Sox
fan. Oh, no, not another Boston Red Sox fan.
Love to see that. What a guy. As I was saying, Paddy, my favourite Belfast Giant this year is Matt Foley.
It's been lovely chatting to Matt Foley. Good night.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry about it.
Anyway,
sorry.
Matt, let's get started with your reflections on the weekend. A win in Manchester, and then obviously coming just short in Nottingham.
Yeah, I mean, frustrating to leave points on the board in Nottingham for sure. But really fun third period to be part of as a player, to come out and kind of respond to the challenge the way we did. That was fun to be a part of. You want to win. You want to win every game you play, no doubt about that. But all things considered, that was at least left us with some encouragement as we finished off the weekend, and we got the win away at Manchester. So we want more, of course, but all things considered, we're heading into a good week of practice and getting ready for Sheffield.
That third period in Nottingham, with bodies heading to the treatment table and the bench starting to sort of disappear, the odds are against you. But then the momentum takes a swing. What's that like? What's that like when you see the momentum swing and you see that Nottingham are holding on for dear life?
Yeah, I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the 2 goals in the third happened fairly close to one another. And there was still plenty of time on the clock still. So that's when you're really starting to think, okay, wow, we can do this. This would be one of those special games to be a part of, come back on the road, short bodies. So at that point you're like, wow, this is within grasp, and you're really chasing it in their crowd. You can feel their energies shifting a little bit. They're a little more nervous, and a lot of like oohs and ahs as those pucks are just like whizzing across the goal line and you're not sure how they're not going in. So literally until the buzzer, you just had a sense that like, okay, we're going to get that next one. We're going to get that next one. We're going to get that next one. And you just kept chasing it. So bit of an adrenaline rush. It's fun. It's exciting. And yeah, we just missed it.
We were talking earlier there, Matt, just about the attrition on the bench. Obviously, guys going down hurt, guys not playing because they were hurt, and a lot of time on ice for guys. 30 minutes plus for some of the guys playing every other shift. Will Cullen playing as a forward. Is that fun to see? Like, one of your D partners jumping up there and playing on the wing at times?
Yeah, no, that's anytime you get like a little change like that, it's fun, and it creates something for the bench to get behind. Like especially as a D man, when one of your guys is up front, you're like cheering for him every shift, because if anyone's going to score, you want it to be a D man. And he's doing what he does. He's always out there making plays, so he's unleashed a little bit up front, and he created a lot for us. He had a couple chances. He almost scored one, and yeah, that brings a lot of energy to the bench for sure. Same thing though when Longer or he comes back to the D side. Like anytime a guy has to step up for the boys, it creates some energy.
Matt, you come to Belfast after spending 2 seasons in the coast with Wheeling Nailers, 60 appearances there, and also a few call-ups to the AHL also. It's always interesting to me the comparisons between the leagues. People talk about the standard of hockey getting kind of closer and more similar to the coast every year. But in terms of the 2 experiences, the coast is known for those brutal kind of bus trips, being on the road a lot, high turnover of players. What's your experience like in Belfast versus those last couple of years with Wheeling?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you just mentioned with the turnover, like the fact that I've been here since August, so 3 months now with the same group. It's a little more familial. It reminds me a little more of my days of playing college hockey, where you have the same guys in the same locker room, and it's very much winning oriented. In the coast and even in the American League, like it can be individually driven. It's guys chasing the next level. So everybody wants to go up. No one's complacent, right? I mean, unless you're in the NHL, you're playing North America, how could you be? So, you have that aspect of guys having personal success and getting called up, or, vice versa, guys going through adversity and going down. And even as an individual yourself, you have to focus on your play and making sure you're in a situation to, go up or stay, not go down.
It's really interesting.
It can become a bit individually driven. We're here, like I compared to college, it's like, okay, these are the guys in this room. Everyone's going to accept a role, and the most important thing is winning a championship. So it's refreshing to be back into that, team-oriented culture.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think that's the question I was just going to ask on the back of that, Matt, is the fact that when you're in the AHL and you've got that sort of what's the word? You don't want to be sent down. You're always trying to get up, as is everybody around you. How do you find the sort of team ethos in that when ultimately you're all battling for places?
Right, and I think everybody in hockey understands that individual success almost always follows team success. So if you're focusing on winning and, doing the right things to help your team win, everybody will come out the other way looking good just because of the team success. But at the same time, for me, when I'm in the AHL on a PTO, I'm one mistake away from going down to the coast. So I'm very much focused on making sure I'm doing okay. So
Yeah.
If I'm on the bench and I'm, far away from the ice and a goal against happens, it doesn't completely deflate you as much versus when you're on the ice. But here, when it's more team oriented, it doesn't matter who's on the ice, doesn't matter who messes up or who does something good. It's, you're a group, and it's a little more group thinking.
Richie, who signed for Nottingham this week, did a similar interview on what we're talking about here, and he says, like, nobody ever dreamt when they were growing up of winning the Calder Cup. When you go to the AHL, you have a goal is to move up. You don't want to go down, you want to go up. And if success comes, even when you go for a playoff run, you're not really that bothered, because at that stage you're hoping to get, will you get a bit of a Stanley Cup run or whatever. Is it nice to almost come to Belfast and know that, bar you don't take it seriously, or you don't train, or you're not doing something right, you're there for the season almost. It's not you certainly don't have a guaranteed place, but you've got a little bit more security than what you have in those AHL, the coast. There's a little bit there, and you're playing at a team that is playing for a championship every night.
Yeah, and I think as far as the people who you're playing for and who you have to keep happy, it's it's the guys around you, it's your teammates, and it's one set of coaches. And it's like, if you do what they ask, then you're going to be okay. Versus when you're in the East Coast League or the American League, sometimes it's like, okay, am I putting up enough stats to get noticed? Am I, who's watching tonight? Are they going to be impressed with me? Like, all I have to worry about is, what my coaches think of me and what my teammates think of me, and, what I think of myself. If I can check those boxes, I don't have to get caught up in, stats and ice time and whether I'm on the power play. It's just about, doing my role to the best of my ability to give our team a chance to win.
And sorry, Joe, just before you go, how are you going with ticking all those boxes at the minute? How are you feeling with all those things?
Yeah, I think, I think I'm playing well. I don't think I've played my absolute best hockey yet, which is encouraging in a way. But no, I think myself and I think most of the guys will feel like they've played well so far this year, and all of us maybe have even a higher level to hit.
It's a fascinating conversation, and it's a shame that we have to run like an hour and a bit on the show, because I could sit and talk about that kind of thing forever and ever. But if we flip it back to prior to your time in the Coast and in the A, Paddy referenced it there. You had 4 years at Yale playing NCAA D1 hockey. You were selected to the ECAC All-Academic team in each of your 4 years at Yale, and you were also part of the 2018 Yale Bulldogs team, who came over to the SSE Arena and played in the Friendship Four. So obviously you join a long list of former Giants and former league guys now, most notable of which in previous years would have been Darcy Murphy from Colgate. What was the Friendship Four experience like, first of all? Was that your first experience of playing overseas, and how did you how did Belfast match up to your expectations of traveling to play hockey?
It was my first time playing overseas. And yeah, I don't think I knew really what to expect as far as what kind of hockey experience Belfast was going to be. I had heard good things about the tournament, but like I had no idea what to expect out of, fan engagement or what kind of hockey culture existed in Northern Ireland. I was completely oblivious. So when I got here, and, the crowds in that tournament is really good. Like there's some school days, the little guys are out there and they're filling up the stands. It's like, it's an incredible atmosphere. And then, that tournament, I think if you were to ask most of my teammates, most of our memories are off the ice, because I'm not sure if it was, the tournament administrators or my coaching staff and hockey ops guys, but the experience in general was a blast. Like everything we did was fun. And, the meals, we did some ceremonies throughout town. We got to walk around the Christmas market. It was just like an incredible weekend. Like we still talk about that trip. Earlier this week, I was in a group chat on Instagram, and guys were sending the Instagram story was still archived on the Yale hockey page.
That's unreal.
We were sending it back and forth and just like laughing, like seeing guys in Ireland and Northern Ireland. You don't get to do stuff like that a ton in college, right? I mean, it's the same rinks, same hotels every year. Over and over again. And then you get this, 1 week where you get to go to Belfast and Dublin as well, and do that with all your best friends, in those college years. Those are experiences you don't forget.
Paddy, there's nothing I can ask that's going to top that as a recollection and a memory of the Friendship 4. I'm done. That was lovely. Really, really. It's lovely to hear. It's lovely to hear from that perspective. Very eloquently put as well. I think that, if you ask the organizers of the Friendship 4 and the Odyssey Trust, the thing that they almost most want to do is leave an imprint socially, both on the young people that the players go and visit and interact with, but also on those young athletes that are often coming overseas and playing for the first time. And to hear that kind of first-hand account, of that actually happening is really lovely. That's class. I have nothing better to add.
I'll be completely honest. My freshman year, we played a Thanksgiving tournament at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And went out there for that weekend, playing the tournament. It was fun, sure, whatever. Sophomore year, we have nothing over Thanksgiving. No tournament. So I'm allowed to go home and spend Thanksgiving with my family, which is a big deal in America.
Of course.
So junior year, I find out we have a Thanksgiving tournament, and I knew it was in Belfast, and it didn't matter. My initial reaction was like, "Oh, come on!" I just want to go home and get that break from hockey and that break from school, and go home, spend time with my family, see all my friends. The night before Thanksgiving in the States is the biggest bar night of the year.
Yeah,
complete blast, and it's
I
was so bummed out, and. It was funny. The minute we got home from the trip, I was I was so wrong about that. That was a bummer.
That's good to hear.
Phew, glad to hear it.
Was there any of the sort of that hangover, wrong terminology, was there any of the trip to Belfast that helped make your decision to come back to Belfast any easier?
Oh yeah, for sure. I had gotten a firsthand look at how great of a rink it was, how nice the area was, the facilities. I didn't get to see a game, but by walking around the rink and being part of that kind of environment, you can get an understanding of what kind of organization it was. I knew it was a class organization because I'd seen it with my own eyes, or at least the ice surface and all that. And I'd seen the city. So I knew the city was a blast, and I knew how professional the Giants seemed from that experience. So, we also were kind of briefed on the history of the Giants, and I knew some of the players who had come with great pro careers and ended up here. And I'm even I think at that moment, I think a majority of my team would have been I'd come here in a heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah.
2 years later, I get the opportunity to, and it was ooh, Belfast.
And I think the guys have the Friday. I might be wrong. I think we play Saturday and Sunday, so I don't know if Friday's a travel day or Friday's a day off. But if Friday's day off, if you're going to go down to the rink and take some of the games in,
I think we're going to be able to catch one day of games. Yeah, so it probably is that Friday.
Yeah, it is.
You looking forward to that, to seeing the sort of obviously having played in that, to see some other kids come through and enjoy it the way you did?
Absolutely, and a lot of those teams have some particular relevance to me. Quinnipiac's coming over. They're a big rival of us at Yale because our schools are 5 to 10 miles apart. So Quinnipiac was a big game for us, and then UMass Amherst is kind of in my backyard from my hometown in Western Massachusetts, and I know Coach Carvel a little bit. I've crossed paths with him just because of that, and my sister went there, so. There's a little bit of UMass Amherst pride in my family. So Dartmouth, another Ivy League school, and then UMass Lowell, where I was able to play at their rink a couple times in college. So I have a little bit of a connection to all the teams, them being all from the Northeast. So a little bit particularly interesting for me.
We're really looking forward to it here. Obviously, it's been going since 2015. It's been a tournament that we've really enjoyed from day one. We didn't know what to expect when it first cranked up, but I don't think there's a better tournament than hockey in these islands. It's a wonderful thing. Next weekend, flying back, can't wait for it. I'm going to go just now quickly to a couple of questions that have come in from the Twitter and people who are watching on. A quick one from Neil here, just basically asking, how's he finding the weather compared to Tucson?
It's pretty much
a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm missing that Tucson weather for sure.
Obviously, you were there for a little while. It's an interesting place, especially down in Arizona, to play. It's one of these places, hot weather, but a nice sport. But it's must be a real. They talk about Belfast being a different sort of hockey community and a different sort of place to play hockey. I'm sure, like when you go to like Texas or Arizona, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I'd actually think that the Belfast, as like a city and community, it has a bit of a better hockey culture than Tucson. What's nice for me for Tucson is I was there from January to April, so like brutal months of weather in West Virginia and in the Northeast. So I got to skip all of that last year. And on a PTO we get put up on a hotel that had a pool with a patio, so I could get out of practice and I could just go like lay down on a pool chair and chill. So that was nice. But no, I
now
would
you get
say
to take the Stena Line ferry to Fife. So
the travel was nice. It was nice in Tucson. We're playing in Vegas or LA, and we're far enough that we have to fly and stay over the night before and the night after. So some fun road cities as well. But no, I think hockey culture wise, Belfast, I would say Belfast has more engagement than Tucson did.
Wow. One
here from Shauna saying, how was playing in the CHL? Is there anything that's actually shocked you about playing in the Elite League?
So as far as playing in the CHL, that was honestly like almost like, it's not something I think as a kid I said, I want to play in the CHL one day. But as I got older, I think it kind of was like a dream realized, just to play at such a high level versus some of the most prestigious teams in Europe, to play at HC Davos in that rink, to play an SHL team, like those were things that maybe I didn't think was going to be possible when I'm playing in the Coast 2 years ago. So that, like, it's just from a pure hockey standpoint, meant a lot. And then just, I thought we did pretty good. Like, we held up against these teams pretty well. And I think that was really exciting, kind of motivating for the season. Like, oh, wow, we got a hell of a group here.
And what about the Elite League? Is there anything when you've come in is sort of a surprise you, though?
I think the first thing that jumps out to you is the intensity every night. And that's just because of the format, right? With the regular season games. I think you guys mentioned it right before I hopped on, like 2 points in November is the same as 2 points in April. Yep. And that's the reality of it. But that's a reality that I've never faced before. In the I would say North America, the general mindset is like you have an identity and you try to play to it each and every night. But you don't get too caught up in results, because you hope if you play the right way over the course of a season, things will average out. You'll be okay. You'll get your playoff seeding, and then the intensity raises. But here, you can't look at it that way. Like,
no nights off. No
nights off at all. No, and results truly do matter every single night. So it's like it's playoffs now.
It is.
It's a solid 6 months of it, man.
Yeah, and it shows up every night, and it's there'll be games in the East Coast League like the Sunday of a 3-3, and just guys are out for a rip. You can just feel it. Like everyone's like, okay, let's just get through this one. But no, not here.
And last one from Twitter, just Alan Brett asking, who's the best player you've played against and with?
In here this year, or
no? It's play in your career.
I'm pulling up as well Wilkes-Barre and Tucson rosters here. see who's gone up.
No, the best player I've ever played with is Jeremy Davies. He's a defenseman in Buffalo Sabres organization right now. I think he's in Rochester. He's played some games in the NHL. I played with him in juniors in the USHL. He was a complete beast then. He was probably even better in college, like just a complete glitch. He's had a good best player I've played against. I know I'm going to say the wrong guy, and I'm going to hang up and regret this.
It's fine. We can add on any extras next week.
Best player I played against. I played against Kilmer.
Would you section to the podcast?
I'm actually glad.
Matt Foley remembers.
I thought of the correct answer for this. I played against Kilmer in college.
All right,
And,
that's fair.
Not Mark Garside. Mark Garside wasn't mentioned there at all, David.
You didn't ask me who my favorite defensive partner of my career was.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, man. That's
Just,
exactly
That's it.
Does the simple thing, has a bullet of a shot. That's
That's
just
it.
Gary, isn't it? So
What more do you want?
My tenuous Belfast Giants link from Matt Foley is that you played with Mike Pellich in Wheeling, younger brother of former Giants captain Matt Pellich. You were 60 appearances with Wheeling. Did you play alongside Mike much?
Yeah, so he was there my first year, which was the COVID year.
Oh, yeah, okay.
When you talk about roster turnover in the East Coast League, that year was insane.
Yeah.
I think we went through like 75 player cards. So that means 75 different players came through the locker room that year.
It's a new team every night.
Literally, it was insane.
Yeah.
And that was the year that I played with Pelly. But I had a good run with him early in the year where we were together. And like he's a very well respected player in North America. Like tons of games pro, tons of success. So as a rookie, to be able to learn from a guy like that was great.
I think he's still going. He's with the Glads now. Sorry, I'm done, Paddy. I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
just having a nice
Matt,
time.
listen,
I keep
we're going to let you
forgetting
have
we're doing a podcast.
we're going to let you have your night back. Listen, we really enjoyed chatting to you. We really enjoyed it. Just quickly, obviously, 2 big games this weekend. Our first foray to Sheffield, our first battle against who potentially could be a real rival for a title in the Sheffield Steelers. We obviously seen how Saturday went in Nottingham, and some guys need to rest up. How are preparations going for that weekend?
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the week, it's been a lot of focus on rest and kind of getting prepared for this second half of the week to now we turn it up. Tomorrow's a big practice. Thursday and Friday, it's all about, getting ready to go now. So the bodies are rested up and healed, and now we kind of attack the week. And this is a huge weekend. I mean, no way around it. We're going to Sheffield for 2 huge games.
Fantastic, Matt. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck this weekend, and hopefully we'll chat to you again later in the season.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
thank you.
I always realize when I play that ad that I think there's some people who listen to the audio only version of this and think we just play a little bit of music just to fill. That is an advert for the Friendship 4, which does take place next Friday and Saturday. Next week we will have maybe a couple of coaches, a couple of captains from the teams that are taking part. I know we're just lining up a couple of those interviews at the minute, and a little bit of a preview as to what's in store and what is, like I said earlier, one of the, if not the best tournament to take place in these islands with regards to ice hockey. Massive thanks to Matt Foley for joining us there. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, really, really good chat and a really good guy, and very interesting. If short pro career already, but obviously good things ahead for him. Right, Joe.
Yeah, sorry about that. Forgot we were doing a podcast for a minute. I was just enjoying talking to him. It's a good one whenever you just forget. There's actually people sitting watching this, waiting for us to. They're probably waiting to go to bed. Sorry. Anyway, your news really quickly. This past week, and thank you, Aaron Murphy, for confirming it's the Via Sports.
He did. He sent us a message saying to confirm how you say it.
What are you saying, Davey? You don't look happy about that?
I don't know why you had to wait for Aaron Murphy to tell you. I told you last week. It was
I did tell us last week, but I've got to get it from Aaron Murphy.
Well, thanks, Murph.
Sorry.
Thanks, Murph.
Sorry.
Thanks for confirming what I said.
He was listening to the podcast on his way to the game of the week, and he sent us a message saying it was via play. So yeah,
really appreciate it. Somebody with a bit of culture waiting in. On Wednesday night, the Sheffield Steelers hosted the Coventry Blaze, needing the shootout to get their 2 points in a 5-4 win. On Friday, the Five Flyers left Glasgow with a 2-1 win. On Saturday, the Dundee Stars got a big victory over the Cardiff Devils, winning 5-3, which will put a smile on Jeff Mason's face after a pretty turbulent week or so there. And the Glasgow Clan continued to have a very bad time with a 6-2 loss to the Steelers in Yorkshire. On Sunday, the Flyers... what happened to the Flyers on Sunday? Went full Hulk mode. They battered the Panthers 6-1, obviously after they've been softened up by your Belfast Giants. And the Devils bounced back with a 4-1 win over the Manchester Storm down in Cardiff Bay. And in the Challenge Cup, boys, a moment of silence, please. It's my sad duty to report the Challenge Cup group stages have come to an end. You're talking about the greatest hockey tournament in these islands. Friendship 4 is the second greatest hockey tournament after the Challenge Cup group stages. Sadly,
the most arduous. No, not the best. The most arduous.
Here we are in mid-November and the Challenge Cup groups are over. The Blaze and Flames home and away double saw honours shared as the Blaze won 4-2 at home on Saturday night and the Flames took revenge with a 7-4 win at home on Sunday. Despite that, the Blaze held on to third seed as Group B winners. Let's not go into the quagmire that is seedings. And
I was just lining it up there for the crack.
Nice. Well, I do actually have the Challenge Cup knockouts then. We might as well run through them now that we have the quarterfinal games now ready. So with all Viaplay Challenge Cup group stage games now finished, we'll never forget you, Challenge Cup group stage. The final ranking of teams has been determined for the quarterfinals. The top seed, your undefeated Belfast Giants, with that 100%, love to see that, will face the 8th seed Nottingham Panthers. Second seeded Sheffield Steelers will take on 7th seed the Cardiff Devils. Third seed the Coventry Blaze will face 6th seed the Guildford Flames. And the 4th seed Fife Flyers will play their friends from up the road, the 5th seed Dundee Stars. And the dates for all of those games played over 2 legs, home and away, are to be announced very soon. How do we feel?
Can I just briefly say before you go on, the actual looking at these seedings, it's like a game of Dungeons and Dragons with the rule book for it. It just seems, if any, like I said on Twitter during the week, if any tournament, if this shows anything, it's a tournament in need of reform. But what I will say what the reform isn't. It's not bringing in NIHL teams. Let's just put it that way. I know that there's a lot of very passionate NIHL fans who think that should happen, but as our good friend Anthony Russell says, if I want a cricket score, I'll watch cricket.
Oh boy, can't wait for the tweets we're gonna get. Can't wait.
Well, I go back now because me and Paddy and TV's Neil Coach Russell were having a little chat about this the other day, and it is a little bit disparaging just the right on these teams off because there is talent in the NIHL, and we know that there's a lot of EIHL two-way players, generally guys that are dusting here or guys that are getting fourth line minutes, 3-4 shifts a game, whatever. Generally, those really good NIHL teams are still only one line deep. That don't have the depth to compete against an EIHL team. And if you put your full firepower out, I would expect the Belfast Giants to beat anything that comes up from that league. We had the crossover league years ago when
that was EPL though. Was it different?
Well, when the EIHL was a lot weaker as well, to be fair.
That's true.
And yes, you got the odd upset, but generally the Giants ended up winning that crossover cup bowl, whatever was in the shoffice at the time.
Stopping the Coventry Blazes Grand Slam, which was
stop the Grand Slam. That's right. I've got pictures to prove it.
But on that, and I understand why. There's obviously a passionate fan base in the NIHL who follow that and they're fully behind the teams, and I'm not disparaging that in any way. But the idea that the gap could be bridged in order to have some sort of tournament between and have them involved in maybe an FA Cup style tournament. It's a nice idea. But after 1 year, when you're seeing the likes of, like, you've already seen a lot of their fans saying, well, I think that MK or Leeds could mix it up with Manchester or Fife. Well, that's great. But the tournament that most likely is the rest of the guys are going to be playing against Belfast, Nottingham, Sheffield, Cardiff. And then what? We end up with a season where people just go, actually, that hasn't worked. And so there needs to be a level where the EIHA and the NIHL has to start to build if they want to get into that. And there's going to be people watching this who are fans of that. I think that's just elite league arrogance. And yeah, maybe so, because we are watching a league that is dominated by import players. But that's the league that we watch. That's the league that we enjoy, and we have British players that we're proud of, and you can see the fruits of that are GB reaching the final, the top table in the World Championships. These are guys who have been through NIHL or through some sort of system. There's no gap in the middle. That's the thing. Guys are going to North America to sort of get that gap in the middle and coming back. But they are playing in the elite league, getting that time with EIHL, and then going on to play in GB. So, yeah, ultimately, bad idea. Sorry, Joe.
You're okay. Direct those hate tweets to Patrick Smith on Twitter.
Yeah, sure. Oh, no.
Sure. Yeah. That's it. He's someone who really can't deal with confrontation on Twitter.com historically.
Just to have my wife say to me, as she normally does, "You've got that smile on your face like you're winding somebody up on Twitter."
Sustains you. Let's keep it rolling here. Busy week for Dops. I don't know if you've got any footage for me, Paddy, but
What do you want to start with?
We'll start with Brett Ferguson's hit on Jack Billings, the hit to the head. If you've got it there. On Saturday night in Coventry, Guildford Flames forward Brett Ferguson made an illegal check to the head on Blaze forward Jack Billings, earning him a fine and a 1-game suspension. Ferguson delivers a hit on Billings that cuts across the front of his core, making his head the main point of contact. We hear this a lot, the angle of approach and how it come in. Dop says it's important to note that while there may be some, it's brutal, isn't it? These are honestly, as the more and more time goes, the older I get, the more I wince whenever I see hits like this. It's important to note that while there may be some contact with Billings' body, the head is the main point of contact on this hit. Ferguson's shoulder hits through Billings' head. If Ferguson wants to deliver this hit legally, he must take an angle of approach that hits through Billings' shoulder and core, rather than one that cuts across the front of his body, making his head the main point of contact. We saw it in recent weeks with that hit from Davy Phillips, which obviously spilled over into something the week after. We have something, unless you've anything to add, boys, again, very uncomfortable to watch those kinds of hits.
Lifts his shoulder into it as well.
Yeah, it's that elevation.
At full tilt, I have no idea how that's a 1-game ban.
That's good, isn't it? So,
when you look just 2 weeks ago, Davy Phillips took a 2-game ban, correct?
2-game, yeah.
With no prior, indiscretions on the sheet either. That's
sees where he's going.
I think the rule book opens with there is no, with the section about head shots, is there is no such thing as a clean hit to the head, so there is no mitigation there. Player's not even really crouched over that much. He's targeted him. He's hit him with his shoulder. That's shoulder's probably slightly better. I don't know, better than elbow or not, but that's a bad hit. That's a naughty hit.
And similarly, Paddy, if you're happy to move on Sunday night in Guildford, Blaze forward Marley Quince was also penalised for an illegal check to the head on Flames forward Turner Ripplinger, also earning himself a fine and another 1-game suspension. If you've got the video there, Ripplinger attempts to make a breakout pass to a teammate from the half wall. After he moves the puck, Quince finishes a high check on Ripplinger. These ones with the sandwich, the boards are stinking as well. A high check on Ripplinger that cuts across the front of his core, again, making the head the main point of contact. Same sort of angle of approach. Dop says on this one, while Ripplinger does make a play on the puck, he does not change the position of his head or body just prior to contact in a way that significantly contributes to the head being the principal point of contact. Quince, in making this check, cuts across the front of Ripplinger's body rather than hitting into the left shoulder or the core. Yet again, if he wants to deliver this check, Quince must stay low, take an angle of approach that hits through his core rather than one that makes the head the main point of contact. He also received a fine and a 1-game suspension for this. Anybody on that?
Nothing to add here. I think
responsibility.
The Ferguson one's worse for me, but
yeah, it looks more dramatic. Sorry, anyway.
I think the responsibility is not to make that hit and that to the head, and that I think that it's fair enough to make to finish a check there, but you cannot target the head, and he's targeted the head there clearly.
And then favorite Dops of the week. Very short statement today on this one and no video. But Dops has fined Nottingham Panthers. Is there Nottingham Panthers number 75, Mathieu Gagnon, for having a wee tantrum and cross-checking that absolute bag out of Yannick Kivlai during the game between the Five Flyers and Panthers on the 13th of November. He has not received a suspension. He has been fined. Very funny video. Hopefully Kivlai is okay. I'm not laughing if he's hurt in any way, but that is just a guy who sees red and goes for it there. Just full send. There was a bit of needling today as well on Twitter that Dops had sort of only fined him, not given a full statement and not given a video. But goodness me, this is EIHL of old right here. He's upset, and 1 and 2. Yeah, I don't think he's going to cause. It looks dramatic, but he's not going to cause injury in the same way as a full speed hit to the head in open play. It's more of a tantrum than anything, as long as Kivlai hasn't taken it to the back of the head there. But just a fine, no suspension, and a very brief statement today on that one.
I'm surprised there's no suspension on that, to be honest. Even just one game, not no much. I think, David, we had a chat about this the other day, but I don't think there should be any more than one game. But I'm surprised it just ends up as a fine.
Yeah, just the accumulation there inside 10 seconds of two pretty hefty cross checks. One, it's just a little love tap. The last one, there's nothing really in it. I can see on the night that, assume he took a penalty on the night, he probably got 5 in game or something on the night for that. But I think
do the 5 players come in? That's all I know. Like if
one does
came...
at the end there after the last one. I think somebody does come in after the second one. The video just cuts. I think 5 players are coming in to give him a wee hug at least. But the first one, it's not really clear what it started over, and it's not really clear how severe that first one is. The second one doesn't look good here. And the third one's a bit unnecessary almost. All three are unnecessary. But yeah. I think he like them all. I think that the first one should be more than one game. I think the second one's probably about right, and that third one, plus or minus, could see a suspension or not. It doesn't really.
They're what, 4-0 down. I can't go back on the fact that I said last week, if a team's getting embarrassed and want to get a bit of an edge, they have to show a bit of phicality, a bit of dirtiness, but that still doesn't. I don't really think that's it. But I'm not going to be hypocritical and say that at a 4-0 game when you're trying to get back into it, I'm not surprised that Gagnon does something like that.
Well, I also seen that on the top statement that says he's banned for a game in November 2023, but. Let's be honest, he's not going to be here to serve that ban.
Oh, yeah. It says November 2023.
Yeah. Finally this week, your Viaplay Elite League Game of the Week is on Wednesday night. If you're watching live tonight, that's tomorrow. If you're listening tomorrow, that's tonight. At 7 p.m.
And if it's Thursday, you've missed it.
7 p.m. as the commentary play is hosted on these stars. Join Aaron Murphy and co live for all the action. Paddy, that's your news.
Right. One thing I'm going to do before we go on to the 2 games, because we're going to shift through the 2 Sheffield games, I'm finally going to ask this question. Dave, we had a question the other week. Who, pound for pound, was the toughest player in the Elite League?
Oh, it wasn't. It was the question not for the Belfast Giants.
Oh, I thought it was pound for pound in the Elite League, but okay, for the Belfast Giants.
Belfast Giants. I thought Belfast Giants, pound for pound. For me, the toughest SOB that ever put the gloves on for the Belfast Giants was Rocco Ferrone by a distance. He had such a short fuse, and he could hit you 3 rights before you even got your hands up to stop him. It was like he was hitting a speedball when he was fighting. He was unreal. We have had tough guys, Sean Skihar. We have had heavyweights at Anglestad. We had good guys like Schulte and Jason Bowen. Oh my goodness, who else have we had? Adam Keefe obviously did an amazing job as a sort of heavy middleweight, if you like. But like Rocco Ferrone, just like almost peerless for me in what he could do. I'd be surprised if Neil Russell still listens to the podcast, but if he does, I guarantee he agrees with me.
I agree with you as well. I think that you go back to
pull up a sandbag here, as Joe would say.
Yeah, here we go.
The old boys are at it.
I go back to that game. I go back to that game at the Odyssey Arena in the first couple of home games, the one against London, where you had the fight. Schulte fought, and then seconds later, Ferrone fought. Was it Walker that he fought in the corner? And then it gets to the final, the handshakes at the end, and he gets leveled into him again. And it's not as if we're not talking about Rocco as if he was some, big, double-sized meathead who's able just to get leveled in and just push you away and punch you. The guy was not slight, but he was he wasn't the biggest of guys, but he could pack a punch, and his hand speed was so quick. They would just absolutely destroy you. It's like Floyd Mayweather. His hand speed of Floyd Mayweather just come in and bang, 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 and down you went. There was very few players tough at him. And like you say, Davey, we've had them. Malcolm McMillan, tough player. What do you call the fella who was Carlisle Lewis? Carlisle Lewis, I thought we've had big guys. I remember that Manchester game which descended into you had Carlisle Lewis hitting Ed Courtney, and then somebody hitting Tony Hand,
Lewis hit Tony Hand, yeah.
And Lewis hit Tony Hand, that's right.
Cloutier and Lewis then tied up. Stoutfighter and Mo,
and Mark Morrison.
Probably the best fight we've ever seen at the Odyssey.
One of the best games with regards to that. I think the video must still be on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Joel, go check it out. Great game.
So definitely. It's just that it was one of those games where, you know, they hit our coach, we hit their coach and best player, and then the two big guys
sorted it out,
and the two sort out play on. And it's just that was just a quintessential game of that sort of era where the guys just sorted it out on the ice and there was no real issue. And the game went on.
We've got a couple here. Ricky Stagg, obviously formerly of this parish, and Mark Reed, both saying toughest or craziest Jason Rustin without a doubt. Like some great Jason Rustin stories out there.
Rustin was mental.
He was certainly like he was durable. He was tough. We haven't even mentioned Sean McMorrow, who came along for
we haven't
season and finished off Brad Voth.
Killed Brad Voth's career.
Yeah. So go on, Joel. Who's yours?
So it's I'm sort of it's a syntax thing for me, right? You talk about toughest in terms of being able to fight on ice. So you talk about toughest as in an all-round hockey player. Certainly the Belfast Giants have had its share of big men who were really skilled at fighting. I'm not a Sean McMorrow fan. I've said it from day one. Don't like him. I think he did harm to the organization in terms of turning it into a circus. I have people that think it's like wrestling. I just don't like him. I don't like the guy. But you know, he undoubtedly was a great ambassador for the club and what he did. I think he just set the validity of hockey in somewhere like Belfast back from what he did. But he went on and did that on ice kind of UFC style fighting. It's on YouTube as well. It's incredible. You've had big guys like Matt. Yeah, I mean, fair play to him. And he put me in the Royal for 6 months, so I hope I never encounter him. But you have guys like Matt Nickerson, you know, big guys who were talented fighters. But you want to talk about toughness. Adam Keefe is the only answer, boys. You know, to do what he did for so long, he would fight an army if he needed to for a win. He'd drop his face in front of a puck to win a championship. He'd go out in the playoff finals on a leg that's hanging off and try and play on it because he wants that trophy. You want to talk about toughness? There's nobody. I'm sorry, that's going to take it over Adam Keefe for me.
Take the elbow pad off, throw it across the ring.
And again, you know, he'll be the first to admit, not the biggest guy, but some of the big guys that he fought, he was scared of absolutely nothing. Sensational.
Stephen Mills saying he always loved Big Paxton. Richard Stagg going for Theo as well. That's actually not a bad shout. We always say it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog, and Fleury back down from nobody. And he was able to put the puck in the back of the net.
His home debut, you know, 3 goals, 4 assists in 2 fights, you know, took on Freddie Adoya, sadly no longer with us, but, you know, Freddie Adoya was 6 foot.
Twice his size?
220 pounds or something. And I remember the story, I can't remember, it was Colin Shields or somebody, you know, on that first night, Theo's came in like at the end of the first period, or it might even been before the game went, who's their tough guy? And, you know, he wanted to know before the game. He knew what he was going to do. He didn't have to wait for Adoya. He was looking for Adoya. Adoya didn't go looking for him. Watch the video back, you know, he goes looking for him. So like, yeah, these guys, great memories. I'd love to have time to sit and like go through season by season. We'll do it sometime, but like go through season by season and look at the rosters and talk about players and talk about the tough guys and the goal scorers and the D-men, the goalies, and sort of have a moratorium on each season. That maybe something for the off season, but like those early days, you know, it's nostalgia. Joel said it about something the other week about nostalgia wrapping its arms around you, and it does. You know, you look at things through teal spec, coloured specs. Things were better in 2000 than they were in 2020, and in 20 years from now, Adam Keefe. Kiefer kind of stands alone. Actually, he stands out from a crowd a wee bit. You're absolutely right. Definitely. You know, he will be. You could compare him to anybody that's came through in the 25 years. Or so of the Giants, but you know, you can go back season by season there and you can make really good arguments for a lot of players being. George Awada was tough as teak, you know, like but just not in the, you know, him and Derek Campbell would fight every game, it would seem, you know, they just really didn't seem to like each other. And
Mike Hoffman, another one who was just a monster.
You know, you could go through. We had some guys that were just absolutely. We'll do that.
I'm not going to put the one up that Andy McVeigh just said. I'm not. I can't.
See, to be fair.
Okay, I'll put it up. If Davey's going to talk about it, I'll put it up. It was Kevin Westgarth.
I saw him punch. I can't remember who it was that he punched from Cardiff.
Trevor Cox? No.
Is that when the cameras were in town for that movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they actually had been in Cardiff the week before as well. He actually broke his helmet punching him. Right. He smashed the CCM helmet with his fist in half.
That's right.
And like to do that, you've got to put he had power. What Kevin Westgarth didn't have at that stage in his career was the drive, because he wasn't going for it. We talked about you don't play in the AHL to win a cup. Trevor Hendricks. He smashed Hendricks' helmet. That's right. You don't play in the AHL to win Calder Cups. You play in the AHL to get the NHL to win Stanley Cups. Westgarth had done it. He was in Belfast for other things, in my opinion. And whilst he came here, and I can't say brilliant things about what he did on the ice for us, and in the short period of time he was here, it wasn't a player that would go up in the top 20 Giants of all time. He's had a great career. He's gone on to really, really good things in the NHL, and of course we'll wish him well with all that. But
certainly,
not in the conversation for me.
No, yeah.
I also wish Sean McMorrow. No ill will either, by the way. That's not a personal vendetta. I just wasn't a fan of that particular.
Well, it'll be interesting when he comes on the podcast what you're going to say. So
I'll do this.
I'll be taking this video and playing it. That's what I'll be doing. It's going to be like one of those things that used to be in the Belfast Telegraph. McMorrow here. McMorrow's calling out Joe Neal.
Yeah, I don't think Sean McMorrow gives a bleep what I think, to be fair to him.
Listen, we could talk about this for a long time, but let's start to wrap things up here. The Belfast Giants, obviously, we said taking the first trip over to the Utility Arena in Sheffield to take on the Steelers. Doubleheader this weekend, Saturday 7 p.m, Sunday at 4 p.m. Both those games on Steelers TV. I'm not going to get into the in-depth stuff here, Joel. I'll just ask you the question. Obviously, this is a big weekend for the Giants. This is the first time against Sheffield, who most notably will, most likely, the way things are going, be a real contender when it comes to silverware at the end of the season.
Yeah, these are the big games that you circle in your diary. We need bodies back into the lineup, but just from speaking to Matt Foley earlier, I think you got a glimpse there of the mentality. That the boys are ready and willing to take the challenge about being playoff hockey every week, and they're ready to go to war. They're on this road trip that's going to really not define the season, but it's certainly going to set us on a course. And I don't think they're unfamiliar with that. I don't think it's news to them. And I know that Adam Keefe, who has done this a good few times now, will have them properly prepared. I just hope that we can get a few bodies back in the lineup and give us as much chance as possible to head into a big, tricky building with big crowds, big hot crowds, and a team that are always going to be there or thereabouts.
I think so. I think Sheffield are obviously battling. They're battling last season. They're battling this season. We're already seeing gaps appear in the league. So I think that these two games will really set the tone. Hopefully, as we said, as Matt Foley said, the early week has been rest for the Belfast Giants. We're hoping a lot of those bodies that were missing from the back end of that game against the Nottingham Panthers will be back in the lineup come Saturday, 7 p.m. at the Utility Arena. I know there's a lot of Belfast Giants fans making that trip for the doubleheader, as they always do. Good fun to go over there. Maybe have a few pints at the Wendy and then head over to the
Wendy, man. What is fun.
Love it, man. Love it. Not the Arena Square. Apparently Arena Square is not called Arena Square anymore. It's called something else. Yeah.
Call the one we put
the Anfield,
for the Anfield. The Anfield.
Yeah,
you had to
long
be
live the
to
Anfield
get in there.
Dead.
Dead.
Used to love going there, mate, in the pool table in the corner. Used to be an absolutely cracking bar was the Anfield. I was the one across with Newson Gibbet. Is that still there? Yeah. Shows you how much I don't like Sheffield. Used to be a very enjoyable trip, but then they started to knock down the pubs that I used to go to, and then it was just like, well, I'm not going to drink in a bowling alley.
The young ones are going to pub world and what have you now, Paddy. We wouldn't be interested, mate.
Pop world, mate. Anyway,
pop world, by the way. Pop world's sensational.
Not for me, mate. Yeah, I'd sooner watch
we need to wrap it up. There's less people watching than Jimmy Bryson gets votes here, so come on.
I don't care. I'm just talking to you boys now.
Right. So yes, Sheffield against Belfast in Sheffield, Saturday 7 p.m, Sunday 4 p.m. Any other business, boys? And I'm just going to quickly start this with a quick shout out to the guys at Boomerang Corner. I forgot to do this last week, and obviously they had their initiative on the bridge with regards to action for mental health, and it's not weak to speak, and I think that went excellently for them. A fantastic initiative by them. And a very, very important. We know that Kevin Rain has his role with regards to action mental health and things around that. But congratulations to them. Hopefully, something that will be sustained through the season. It's a very, very important factor. It's an issue close to my own heart as well. And I think that I think those guys should be proud of the way that they're taking a lead on this. And congratulations to them. Yep. Anything from you, gents?
No, sure.
Davey's on mute.
Oh, what a rookie move. What a rookie move, Davey. Come on.
Just one from Alan Brother. Shout out to Junior Giants who are playing at the Ice Bowl on Saturday night. I guess if you haven't travelled to Sheffield and you're looking a bit of a fix of live hockey, get down there and support the junior section. I'm sure they would welcome your support.
Absolutely. Well worth that. And go on.
Bleed tail, Paddy. You can give an update next week because I get a message almost daily from Darryl Moore. Well, not daily, but once in a while, because he's still giving away because he thinks he's getting a pint for every pint he's given. He drains his. I think he drains his arm every Friday because he thinks he's getting a pint. But he, to be fair to him and the likes of Kizo and stuff, that have been donating away in the background, been doing it myself whenever I get an opportunity. So we'll have to speak to Robert when we're over next weekend and go, you need to break a keg out here, boss. There must be near 100 now. So
there's a load of lads from 2019 looking at their booze 3 years later. Yeah. I still have the spreadsheet. I still have the spreadsheet more or less up to date, which is unlike me. So yeah, we'll look into that, and hopefully I can start to give blood again myself.
And I got emails this week.
Did you?
We're extending the show.
No. I'll read them next week just to give Coach something to talk about. But I'll print them all out and we'll read them next week.
Keep the emails coming. Podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com. Send your facts in. Davey will have a t-shirt of some sort to pass out, I'm sure, Davey.
I've got one there that I owe to somebody.
There's a Mark Garside testimonial shirt getting cut into 18 pieces and everybody's just getting what you pay.
No. I will I'll get that posted. Hopefully this week. It's been sitting over the handlebars of the spin bike here. I keep moving it there, ride my bike and putting it back on afterwards. So
bring it with you next week, mate, and hand it over in person.
Could do that. We'll do like a picture,
do a picture. That's it. Do it in the off ice bar. We'll get a photograph.
If we do that, we chat. Well,
yeah, we'll do that. Right, let's wrap things up here, boys. If there's nothing else, the two games, Sheffield against Belfast, Saturday and Sunday, 7 p.m. on Saturday, 4 p.m. on Sunday. Join JJ Fernley if you're not making the trip over, and those who are making the trip over, have a great time. Big thanks to Matt Foley for joining us. That was a great chat. Big thanks to everybody who sent in messages, tweets, and the likes. And keep those emails coming. Podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com. And a big thank you to you two gentlemen.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
The Friendship Fours next weekend. We'll have a little bit about that in next week's show. And wherever you are, we hope you enjoy your hockey. We catch you here next time on A View from the Bridge.